Yeah, and I was.
And take your time, Liz. We don't have to start. I just wanted to put that on.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to record it myself because it was nice to just have it. The last time Valerie asked for a copy, I could just send it right to you. I know you told us how to access them, and I still need to look at that, but
We'll get around to figuring that out. Yeah.
all right. Well, maybe just one more minute. I know it seems like sometimes people come on right at 35 after, but it's the summer, so it could be that people aren't
Mm.
around too. All right. Well, I think we'll get started. And so just letting your body come into a place where it wants to be supported or held. It might be sitting or lying down or standing, just really checking in with your body and seeing what kind of support it might want, what kind of posture it might want, and maybe even just start with that intention to care for the body. I think so often we aren't necessarily in touch with our body and what our body wants and needs. Just showing up for that. And then only if it's comfortable, I'm going to invite you to open your eyes. And before we close our eyes or have a soft gaze, I'm going to have you orient a bit and just look around your space. And without naming or labeling, just see what your eyes are drawn to and see if they can go to something that creates a sense of grounding, a sense of settling. Just see if there's something that helps you feel some sense of calm or stability or ground. And notice what happens in the body. You might notice a little bit of a heaviness, a little bit of a solidity, maybe in your sits bones. Maybe you start to notice your breath deepen just a little bit. Just noticing all the sensations that go with this groundedness. And then see if there are any emotions. Maybe there's some calm, maybe an openness. And see if there are any movements your body wants to make. You might want to shift position a little bit, settle even more. And now again, if it feels possible, look around your space and see if there's something in your space where there's a little sense of gratitude or gladdening of the heart. And again, without naming or labeling, just notice what calls to you. Could be something that a beloved person gave to you, makes you remember the connection there. Could be something you got for yourself that feels special. It's like something that is just uniquely you. And just noticing how that gratitude, that gladdening shows up. Might be some warmth in the chest, might be a deepening sense of connection with yourself or the world, might be a sense of care, compassion, and just noticing now where you feel that in your body, letting that be a bit of an anchor that we're going to take into our practice. And with that sense of connecting with that gladdening or gratitude, if you'd like now, you can close your eyes or have a soft gaze to come into the practice. And seeing if you can steep in that gratitude. Maybe there are other images of people or beings or things in your life that you're grateful for that create a gladdening of the heart. Maybe you feel even more of a deepening within your body, that sense of gratitude. Maybe there are other emotions that go with it, like a compassion or sense of connection. And maybe there's a movement or an urge, like a gentle swaying, a hand on the heart, or one hand holding the other. Just notice how that shows up in the body. And from this place of gratitude and gladdening, we're going to welcome in something that might be creating a little bit of grief for us. We're going to spend some time this morning caring for grief. And only if this feels comfortable. If not, please just stay with the gladdening. We all come to this space, different places at different times with different capacities. And so it's just fine to just stay right with the gladdening. But if you'd like, you might choose something that feels a little heavy on your heart that you want to bring in this morning. Please don't choose something overwhelming, just something that wants a little bit of care. And notice how that grief might show up. It might be a little bit of heaviness, a little bit of sense of sorrow, might be a little bit of constriction or tension. And as you're noticing this grief, see how far away this grief needs to be so that you can stay present to it and still be able to work with it. It might be across the room, might be down the street, might be in another state, maybe in outer space. Put that grief in that just right distance from you, where you can see it and care for it and not be overwhelmed by it. And now give that grief the just right place for it to rest while we work with the 7 homecomings. It could be that the grief wants to be in a meadow with butterflies and flowers. Maybe it wants to be in a forest under a bough of trees. Maybe it wants to be in a cave where it's secluded, surrounded by rock, moss. Just notice where this grief might want to be able to receive the 7 homecomings. Now that you have this place where your grief is residing, we'll welcome in the first homecoming. And these are your guides, mentors, elders, anyone who's given you guidance and support, who's expressed love and compassion for you. And we're going to invite this first homecoming to come and kneel at the feet of your grief and offer your grief a gift. And just let it materialize. Just see what this first homecoming might offer to your precious grief. Maybe it's some wisdom or some guidance. Maybe it's a memory of a time when someone really helped you with the grief that you were holding. Just letting the first homecoming offer this gift. And see if your grief is willing to let it be at its feet. And now, and as you're ready, you can let that first homecoming be in the position next to your grief that works just right. Could be to the side, could be in front, could be behind. Just see where that first homecoming wants to be. Can continue to support your grief. Let it be there. And now we're going to welcome in the second homecoming, our wisdom texts. And let that homecoming come and approach your grief and offer its gift. Might be a poem, might be a song, might be a myth or a story about the archetypal movement of grief and how generations have worked with and integrated grief. Just notice what this second homecomings, our wisdom texts, have for your grief. Let this second homecoming lie that gift at the feet of your grief. And now let that second homecoming come where your grief would like it to be to support it. It might be right next to the first homecoming. It might be in a completely different place. Just notice where that just right position is for your second homecoming to rest. And now we invite in the third homecoming, community. This could be seen or unseen community. Sometimes I sense the pod that I left to come into this human form and that I'll return to as a community that's there for me, always holding me, always connected to me. And whatever sense of community you're able to access in this moment, have that come to the feet of your grief and offer it a gift. See what your grief might need in this moment that community can offer it. Maybe it's the knowing that when there is deep grief, community does come together. The ways in which people support each other when there's struggle. Whatever that might be, see if your grief is able to acknowledge the gift that community offers. And now let your community take a seat around your grief. Again, finding that just right place for community to be, to support your grief. And now welcoming in your fourth homecoming, your ancestors and lineage holders. These might be blood and bone ancestors, or they might be ancestors that have taken a liking to you because of similarities. Really see you and support you. And welcoming in those ancestors and lineage holders who are well enough to show up, to care for grief, to know how to hold your precious grief. And as they enter and kneel at the feet of your grief, see what gift they might offer your grief. Might be some old tradition in your family where they're just the tendrils of memory of how to support and connect and be with during grief. It might just be a felt sense, knowing you're not alone. Let your ancestors often offer this gift and see if your grief can acknowledge it. And then again, let your ancestors and lineage holders support your grief by resting in that just right place with your first, second, and third homecomings, creating a lovely sense of container and connection. And now welcoming in your fifth homecoming, the earth. And having a sense that the earth comes to your grief from below. We are all held by the earth, loved by the earth, cared for by the earth. The earth is clay, and we are clay. We are from and of the earth. And imagining that the earth comes up to meet your grief lets it know that it's not alone, even though it could feel so separate. And really feel the earth coming forward in this upward movement and seeing what gift the earth offers to your precious grief. It might offer roots and tendrils to care for it and support it. It might offer mycelium to fortify and strengthen it. Whatever it offers, see if your grief can acknowledge the gift of the earth. And then imagine the earth holding your grief, your other homecomings, And seeing if being underneath and holding is where you'd like and your grief would like for the earth to stay, or if you'd like for it to come to some other place to continue to support. And now we'll welcome in the sixth homecoming, silence. You might have a sense of silence coming down from above, just lightly floating down from the divine. Silence has such a sense of connection, spirit, soul, the divine knowing, the divine connection. And this silence may float down like a mist, like a gentle wind, like a soft light. Just see how silence wants to come to your grief. And then see what gift silence has for your grief. Letting silence offer this gift and seeing if your grief can receive it. And now allowing silence to just be a part of this container that we've created for your tender grief. And finally, welcoming in the seventh homecoming, yourself. And see if you're able to welcome in a part of yourself that's your ideal self, your most awakened self, your most enlightened self, yourself with a capital S, that's capable of love and care and deeper wisdom and compassion. And having that self come and approach your grief. Because this grief is a part of yourself. It might be a younger part that still holds trauma from the past, that wasn't able to be grieved or healed. It might be a teenage part that didn't have space or time to grieve those losses. It might be a more present day self that's working with grief that's happening currently. But just seeing if that enlightened self can show up for this part of yourself that is still needing care. And have that enlightened self ask this other part what it needs. Maybe it needs to be held, maybe a kiss on the brow, maybe just sitting with. Whatever this part needs, offering this part care from this enlightened part that has the resources to care. And now feeling all of the homecomings, caring for your grief, wherever they might be located, all around this grief. And you, your enlightened self, holding this grief. And now imagining that all of you could breathe together. breathing in the care of the homecomings and breathing out any pain that wants to be let go. Breathing in the tenderness that comes when we give care, space, tenderness to our grief. And again, breathing out, letting go of anything that wants to leave. And one more breath in, breathing in whatever feels supportive in this moment. And then breathing out, letting go, whatever wants to leave. And now seeing if you're able to return to that sense of gratitude. Feeling gratitude now for this practice, for Lama Rod, for your commitment to healing, and offering the merit of this practice to any beings or energies that need the care that is generated when we humans practice in community in this manner. And seeing if you can set an intention to have this sense of gratitude and gladdening and connection. And all of your homecomings hold and support any times where this grief or any other grief might come up, knowing that you have resilience and that you're not alone. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and look around your space again without labeling or naming. Just notice if there's any way in which the space might look a little different. Is there anything that calls you that you maybe didn't notice before? Again, seeing if you can feel connected to your space, whether you're feeling gratitude or whether you're feeling grief, noticing that this space is here to hold you, care for you, and protect you, this space that is your own. And as you're feeling back into your space, notice if your body might want to start to make some movements. Might start to notice the air in your space, the sounds, the temperature. And then coming back to our community that we're creating here every week. And the practice and the care that we're all bringing to each other. And through this to this world that needs it so much. And thank you for your practice.
Goodness.
No, thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Liz. Oh, and thank you all. If you want to talk about a future Seven Homecomings retreat, stay on. We'll stay talk for like 5 or 10 minutes. I just want to get thoughts, ideas. Yeah. What do you think, Liz? Shall we transition to that? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. So I just, there was spoken, unspoken desire for an online Seven Homecomings retreat. And I just wanted to gather needs, thoughts, ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I had offered to do a little soul collage. Um, I've been doing, I don't know if any of you know what soul collage is, but they're 5 by 8 cards and you find images. I showed Saraswati this earlier. This is one that I just made not too long ago, but you find these images that speak to you and then you put them on cards and then the cards speak to you. And I've been making different cards for the 7 homecomings. In fact, this is my wisdom texts card that I made. Um, and so they're kind of like community cards, which are cards that can support you. They're different suites or suits. And so I thought it might be cool to lead people in a little quick card making of one of their homecomings, or it could just be support in general or resilience, or it could just be whatever comes up, but make the card and meet the card. And it probably would only be about an hour. I could do an hour and a half, but I could pare it down to an hour because there are probably a lot of people who would have a lot of different offerings. And so I was kind of thinking I could do that maybe after we've had some practice so that people are more in that practice space, but it might give a little bit of a break to do something that's a little bit more cerebral. So I'm happy to offer that.
That sounds lovely. I don't want to make more work for you, but I was wondering, maybe like you could record like a minute of what this means. And if it's helpful, I could be in conversation so it looks a little bit more however it feels to create like a minute of video so that when we put our schedule together, we could put that video that way, what you're sharing about soul collage can be there.
Yeah, that would be great. There's also, and it might be more than what people want, but there's a 6 minute video that Sina Frost, who developed Soul Collage, has just about how to make a soul collage. But I could certainly kind of pare that down and just do a minute or two for people to give them the gist of it.
I'll leave it up to you. Personally, I love the way you explain it. And I assume, she doesn't know Seven Homecomings, you do. So there's just that energy in how you describe it.
Ah, yes, good point. Yeah, I can do that.
And if you like 1.5 hours, let's try to get you 1.5 hours.
It just gives a little bit more space. I mean,
Yeah.
I could have people create what's called a quick card, but what I've found is that when people haven't done soul collage before, if you're because it's like a 15-minute card, it's fast. And so if I could have a little more space, let me noodle it a little bit. Oh, did you want to share something though, before you go?
I have to think about it a little more. I'm a marinator.
Yeah.
So I'll think about it and I'll come back. Thank you so much for practice. It was really lovely.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so
Feel
much.
free to
Yeah.
email me if something happens with the marination. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't, that's fine too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Yeah, so I'll kind of sort it out or map it out a little bit and let an hour 15. I don't think I'd need a whole hour and a half because usually I do a practice in the beginning and I don't think I would need to do that since we will have been practicing all day.
Fine.
So it might be just fine. Yeah.
Okay. Lovely. Lovely. And if you have more thoughts or, I think it's a really lovely way to start get other parts of us involved in the Seven Homecomings practice. So I think it will be really expansive for all of us.
Mhm. And I love that Chris put in the chat that you've been doing collage. So that's awesome, digital collage. Because
Oh,
people can do this digitally. I just am a tactile person, so but people can print out digital images and then use those. I just got when I was hiking, I saw this and I just printed it out. I took a picture of it and printed it out because it has like this, it looks like an ear to me that I'm going to work with. So yeah, people can also use digital or their own photos.
yeah, that makes sense to me. I've done actually that. Thank you for for bringing that up, Chris. I've done a digital collage and it didn't even occur to me till Chris, you brought that up. Yeah.
Well, I love the idea of how it relates to the 7 homecomings. I never, I love making art, but I never thought about doing it in that way. And it just feels, even after the practice is about looking
Yeah.
into your own space, and I connected with some objects and imagined that actually they could be part of my collage. So it's such a lovely, lovely practice.
Mm.
Yeah. I would love to do that. I love making art with people. It's very settling, you know. Are you imagining a full day retreat? Would it be a virtual retreat?
It would be online. I am thinking about it being a full day. And I also want to note that, Chris, you have your hand up, so I want to give you a chance. I was thinking, and I'm also curious to hear your ideas, maybe a Sunday starting maybe 9, 10 Pacific, all the way to 4 or 5. That's kind of where I am. Chris, why don't you talk and then we can come back to the timing later on.
Well, there were two things. One is that it'd be nice to maybe just like also have some asynchronous time that we're working on, that sort of thing, and then a space to share it in, like a digital space to share it in. And then also I've been experimenting some with making videos of collages and images. Like there's a lot of ones where you can just kind of, put them on, and there might be a way to add video. There might be a way to add video, but or add audio, but I'm not sure I know how to do that. But I know how to like add subtitles and music and just have them go in a sequence a little bit.
Wow. Okay. That sounds very interesting. Yeah. What do you folks think about that? And tell us more, Chris, about the asynchronous idea that you were talking about.
Well, just like I tend to get up at different times, and while I drink my coffee, sometimes that's what I do is we'll make collages rather than like scrolling. So like having a retreat, but maybe also just having a chance, like if I was inspired to make one, that I could post it somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, maybe Chris, if you have more ideas about how to do it from a technology perspective, do you think you could share that? That would be very supportive.
Yeah, I could share what apps I use. I'm not like the graphic one is called Polish. And then I forget what there's a few different video ones. They all have that feature of you can just kind of make a video, or on Instagram Reels, you can do the same. You can make one of just like existing images.
Okay. Liz, I'm wondering, this is yours, so I'm, wondering if this is your idea, so I want to make sure you feel like you are owning this. And I also know that not all of us are good with the technology, so I also want to articulate that.
Yeah, I mean, I had an idea, and this is probably just something, Chris, to keep kind of being curious about, but maybe even if everybody makes a card, there could be a little screen sharing 15 minutes of, people could take a picture of the card and send it to you, or somehow get that to you. And then there could even be just during a break, maybe the cards could go through with the sort of music, and we could see and honor each other's cards in that way. I don't know. That was an idea I had while you were talking, but I'd love, as you think about it, maybe to share more what you think would be nice.
To be honest, one of the things that's coming up for me might be weird or whatever, but I've been talking about this idea of altars with folks, and altar,
Altars.
ALTAR. And it's, you know, some people just take to it the way it is, and some people need a little. I just wonder whether this might help folks reimagine what an altar looks like in a way that's more contemporary or just, you know, resonates with some folks. So I
Mhm.
just feel this excitement around it. I don't want to, I don't want to take over anything. But I just feel like there's outlet for folks to have an altar that looks different from what I imagine it to be.
Mhm. Yeah, or maybe pics of their altar, and that could be a way that we even, you know, start the day or something, bringing that sacredness in. And Chris, if you'd wanted to do something like that, and then maybe later in the day after people have made their cards, we could have another, you know, kind of visual offering. Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea.
Thank you, Chris, for your email. I have it now. So maybe we can continue this conversation and I'll, you know, ultimately, Liz, this is your idea. I want to make sure that that's, you know, no one, yeah, okay.
I'm happy to collaborate and see how it manifests. I've learned not to hold things too tightly because then they don't work.
Okay. And, you know, from my perspective, let me know how much time you need, if you need more, if you need less, if, you know, after you and Chris, you know, whatever has come up, you feel like you need more time, we'll figure it out. Like, I want you to feel, as much as possible, I want to support you in manifesting whatever feels appropriate to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Anything else? I wanted to come back to the timing of it and get your thoughts about it. And one more thing I wanted to get timing, if your thoughts on if you have time. Anything else that wants to be shared about this idea? Oh,
Don't
thank you,
think
Chris.
so.
For your phone number, I have that as well. And if you wanted to take that down as well, Liz.
Yeah, and I'll put mine in here. We could maybe even have like a Signal or WhatsApp group or something like that, just for the people who are interested to sort of throw around ideas. Oops.
I'd be happy to be a part of it. In just a supportive role. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
and
here to support you folks.
yeah. So anyway,
I'm here because I wanted to learn about what this is and hope that I can participate. I don't know when it would be, but if there was an opportunity to offer something, I might offer something that involves some movement, some connecting into the body through movement exploration. That would be real pleasure for me to offer. You know, if that felt right, but I'm really here to learn more about what is happening.
So, you know, no pressure on anybody at all. I just want to make that clear. And I personally think that would be really helpful.
I
Yeah.
love that idea.
Yeah.
Well, I feel inspired also by what I'm hearing and just the way that the 7 homecomings can transform into so many embodiments, you know, and in
Yes.
a sense how that can inspire, yeah, our movement.
Yeah, I mean, there might even be a particular movement that goes with each of the 7 homecomings that we have, you know, or I mean, there's so many ways. I didn't even think about that before, but yeah, I mean, we could somehow, that could be, yeah, well, I mean, it's your idea, but yeah, that's really cool idea.
Only if, you know, it fits into what you're thinking about, but I'll just share, because in my life, I've made many dances and I've worked a lot with nature as inspiration, and also ancestors to a certain extent. But when I was having a conversation, I told you this, Saraswati, am I saying your name correctly? Because I've never said it out loud with you, but is that correct?
Almost. It's Saraswati.
Saras with a V, Vati?
Yes, not Vati.
Sarasvati.
Yes, beautiful,
Sar-
excellent, lovely. Thank you,
Vati.
Saraswati.
Okay,
Thank you. Yeah,
I will practice, and
thank you.
when I hear you say it, it's very helpful. Sarasvati.
Yes.
And we spoke, or no, when we felt like speaking, but when we were writing, and there was something that you said to me about my mother, and I think I may have written you, but I actually began to dance after reading what you wrote and connected this sense of that ancestry. Even though a mother is not always considered an ancestor, but at the same time, it's a being that is profound. And so, and we were talking about mother. So just how it can be born out of an experience, an emotion for anyone individually, and that it can manifest in a movement. And so that was kind of like the first time, I don't know, maybe I'm connecting that to the 7 homecomings right now. I connected it to our conversation and where we were, the way that we're communicating, but it is part of that, very much so. And so that's what I was imagining.
You know, I definitely want you to, you know, in the way, you know, what Liz said, right? Not holding anything close. If that's how the 7 homecomings is manifesting for you, I want to create the space. So that is one thing. And the other thing I will say is that I know that a lot of folks I talk to are struggling with idea of family and ancestry. And I think any way to, you know, in the vein of what Liz walked us through today, holding the complex feelings around it, grief, gladness, connection, what ancestry looks like, where it comes from, like this, something that's beyond words and communication, I think would be such a gift. Movement would be such a gift. Yeah.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I think a place, yeah, to, I mean, I'll think about this more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like like in through the portal, welcoming that which needs to come through. And I mean, without being, you know, like a kind of dance therapy, it wouldn't be like that. But, you know, an opening for that which wants to come and feels safe enough to come through, to kind of move through, a sense of moving through, possibly. But it would be a good thing to talk about, you know, because of what you say here. And I know that it's not easy, and for many people, and for myself too. And it could also include, you know, any 7 homecoming that someone related to. The earth is can be a very wonderful one to find the movement, you know, in your body. Definitely like a favorite for me. If that,
Yes. I love the idea of it being any portal, any of the 7 homecomings being a portal. Yeah.
Stillness is a beautiful portal.
Oh, yeah. Stillness, the juxtaposition of stillness with movement. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because stillness is, again, one of those things that is challenging for some folks to access.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, feel free to drop me a chat or an email or whatever if you want to continue to just think about stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. And it doesn't have, it doesn't have to be part of this retreat if it's not the moment for it. I just want to.
I think it is the moment. I mean, I would love for it to be part, but again, no pressure. I think it would be a tremendous gift. Again, no pressure, but I think it would be lovely.
Yeah, I think movement would be really helpful. I mean, because we have practice and then we might have this exercise that I'm offering and then to have movement. I think it's so important for us to be in our body in different ways. I mean, maybe somebody could even have like a chanting or song or rhythm. I mean, I just feel like how can we bring in all these different elements and let the homecomings come through these different elements. I'm working on this soul vows thing right now, and she talks a lot about your soul vows, like having a chant, a mantra that kind of goes with them. And might there be something like that for people with the homecomings? I don't know. I think there are just so many different ways that they can blossom. And then as far as timing, I think 9 o'clock Pacific, I'm just thinking about people on the East Coast. That's noon on the East Coast. And if we went to, let's say we went to 4 or 5, we're talking about 7 or 8 for people on the East Coast. But I know earlier than 9 on the Pacific Coast is hard because that's early. So I don't know. I would just offer that. I'm not on the East Coast, but I just know a lot of people on the East Coast struggle with the.
So how about 8 a.m. Pacific? Is that still too late, you think?
I think 8. I mean, if you think people on Pacific Coast could do 8, I think that's perfect actually, because then we're starting 11 East Coast, which still feels morning-ish. I mean, it's not morning, but I think that would be great if you think people could do that.
And that way, maybe 3 p.m. Pacific, which is still
6. So it's before dinner time. People would feel like they had their evening still.
Okay. And Sunday, you think is a good day, or Saturday? Which do you think is better?
I like Sunday myself, just because for me it feels like a day of rest or a holy day. But it might be because I was raised Christian and I always went to church on Sunday. Sunday was a day of contemplation. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of times, especially if people work Monday through Friday, they kind of want Saturday to get things done or to rest or to do whatever. And then Sunday oftentimes is a day of preparation for the week, but maybe in a contemplative way. Again, I'm totally open to whatever. But and Chris says often works Saturdays. So
yeah, thank you, Chris. I think that sort of follows what Liz was saying, that Saturday is sort of also a work day, either if work or chores work.
mm-hmm.
And then what I was thinking is that folks can, people who are facilitating can facilitate, and then there'd be 15 minutes break in 15 minutes is good enough, you think?
Mm-hmm.
Between one facility and the other? Okay.
Yeah.
And then maybe how long of a break for lunch do you think? 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours?
I think 1 at the most, especially if we're having 15-minute breaks throughout the day.
Okay. 1 hour. Okay. And I was thinking of, obviously, completely free, but maybe asking for Donna, and that can go to Lama Rod. By then, hopefully, he's set up his 501(c), which I think is in the process of it.
Oh, great.
I was thinking, I don't know whether, I don't know what you folks think, like one way is that we could say it's free, Dana goes to Lama Rod, or we could say it's free if you show up live, but if you want the recordings, you have to pay a little bit, and that goes to Lama Rod.
Hmm.
I don't know. But then we have to do the work of actually, then the recordings have to be a little better quality, and I don't know. That's just a little bit more work. We
Yeah.
don't have to decide, it's just
Yeah. I mean, I do like the idea of everybody coming, offering Dana, going to Lama Rod, but we could maybe even ask the tech people at Lama Rod, just say, we may want to record this and then have people be able to give to Lama Rod to access it. Is there any, like Valerie, or is there anything you would recommend? Because they are used to doing that.
right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Especially if it would bring money to Lama Rod.
Yeah. Okay. And then another question I wanted to get some feedback about is one thought I had, I don't know whether it sounds too much work or not very attractive, is to have like all folks, like people send questions and maybe assemble everybody who is a facilitator, and then questions posed to it. Like somebody could say, well, I'm having difficulty with this particular homecoming. What do you suggest? And, different facilitators could give their take on it.
Yeah. Kind of like a panel
Yeah.
for questions.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea.
And you think 1 hour, depending on the number of questions?
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
I don't like every time I make something or mention Lama Rod, I don't necessarily like try to get a hold of Lama Rod first, but I do always try to say like this is from Lama Rod and this is his website, and buy his books or contribute if you like it. You know what I mean? So like I encourage that without like maybe limiting access or trying burdening him with contacts every time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll drop them an email, and I'll also put in, like, you don't have to, like, if you'd like to get involved, let us know, but just want to, so that they're not caught unaware that we're doing this and we're asking donations, but also leaving it up to them, depending on their interest, resources, whether they want to do something with it.
Yeah. And I
What do you
usually
think?
just direct them to his website. I'm not good with money. I'm really bad at fundraising.
Yeah. If they have it, like, and I could ask them, like, we'll just direct you to your website, or if you have a donate button, let us know. So again, I'll let them know and give them the agency of if and how much they want to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
How does that sound?
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
Yeah. And you never know. He might say, hey, I could drop in for 15 minutes. You never know.
Yeah,
So,
that would be amazing.
yeah.
I'll ask you a question.
Oh.
Is this retreat open to, who is it open to? I guess at first I was imagining it was for this song, but it sounds maybe that it's open to a greater group. Is that right?
And firstly, just thank you, Chris, for that donate button. So it is there. I would say it's open to anybody who's well, what I had in mind, and I'm curious what was interested in the 7 homecoming. So starting from like super beginner all the way to anybody else. I would say that some degree of maybe I'll put that in the description. It's open to everybody who's interested in the 7 homecomings, but a certain degree of familiarity with 7 homecomings might be helpful. And then maybe I could find some kind of resource for folks who are completely fresh to it. They may need like a video of Lama Rod or something talking about it, or an article. What do you folks think?
Yeah, or even if there's a practice that they could read a little bit and then do a practice just to get a sense of the 7 homecomings, that would be amazing.
And we do have a YouTube video that hasn't been updated in a few months, but we do have a YouTube channel. So I could put that in.
Great. Yeah, wonderful.
Any other thoughts?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for organizing this and
I
putting
had,
so much
go ahead.
thought into it.
Oh yeah, it's such a pleasure and honor, really. I had a question. In the unlikely event that there are more facilitators than there is time for in a one-day online retreat, what do you think about making it a 1.5-day retreat? Is that too much? If there's more facilitators than can be accommodated.
Well, I mean, I wonder about just seeing who wants to facilitate and maybe laying all of that out first and then kind of seeing, if people could cut back the amount of time, or we could shift the time for lunch or the Q&A, or if we could do different things like that first. I think one day is a little more doable just with
Yeah.
people's schedules,
Yeah.
but maybe we could just see. I mean, I kind of feel like this is going to be a creative process.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I'm feeling like much more settled and excited. Anything else that wants to be shared?
I don't think so.
Okay, I think all of you, Chris, I hope you two have my contact information. Please feel free to drop me an email. It doesn't have to be a fully formed thought. You know, as Liz, you said, this is collaborative, it's creative. You don't have to feel like you reached some kind of milestone in order to reach out to me. Yeah.
I'm
And
not
I'll
sure
reach
I
out to
do
some
have
more
your.
folks, and when I have a clear.
Oh, I'm not sure I
Okay.
do have your contact info. If you could send it.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Okay, there we go. Yes.
May I ask one more question? The
Okay. Um,
a second, or I can write you. I can write you.
sure. And you can ask me now. I turned off my video because my Wi-Fi bandwidth is low. Go ahead, Valerie.
And actually, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to need to go. I have to actually get ready for work. But so lovely being with all of you, and definitely reach out to me if you want to share ideas or bounce ideas or what have you. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Liz. Bye.
Thank you. Just a quick question. As I imagine this retreat, and you speak of many facilitators, would it be facilitators that we have obviously have gone through the training or are in our Sangha, and they're offering the 7 homecomings or a workshop? That is the structure.
So before I answer the question, are you authorized and trained by Lama Rod to share, Valerie?
I
think
was
you are.
certified in the training.
Yeah, that's really all, that's really all, I think. Yeah. And if you're not certified, I think, and you feel like that's something that you feel like you want to do, then I will try and see if I can ask Lama Rod if, but you are certified, so that's not an issue. Yeah, that's really all. Yeah.
This retreat is also supported by Lama Rod. I just didn't know very much about how it's come to be, and I guess I was imagining as something for our Sangha, but it seems like it's a larger offering.
The way I would describe it is that Lama Rod does not know about it. I plan to let him know once I have a little bit more information. and I will Chris, I see your chat. I'll come to that in just a moment. So the way I see it is that this is a group that has been started. This particular Sangha has started with Lama Rod's permission. And the retreat is coming from requests within facilitators and Sangha members who wanted a longer retreat. I haven't asked permission. I can't imagine, because I don't imagine that he would be anything other than delighted. And the certification allows for us to do things like this. But I do intend to inform him and then allow him as much, to be involved with it, not at all, or anything that feels appropriate to him. As long as who's facilitating is certified, I think he will be nothing but delighted. Yeah. Does that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. And, I'm fine sending many materials that he is welcome to veto. Yeah, so okay, so let me clarify what I intend to reach out to Lama Rod. I just want to let him know we're going to have a retreat. It's going to be on this date. We're going to point folks to donations at this email address. If you have more questions, let me know. It's going to be very brief, and I'm not going to overwhelm his team. I don't think so. Yeah. Does that help clarify your concerns, Chris? And does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, for right now, I just know, like, if I had a question like that, I'd probably just reach out to you, and I have your contact info now. I think maybe just like if I'm talking to people in the general public, I'd like to know, like, what's the official way that you get that you ask those sorts of questions. Like, it's
Right,
like kind of
yeah.
like people
That
have my
would be up to me.
number, but like some people need to call my work number, that sort of thing.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're all just the folks who are certified, we just have the authority to facilitate. That's really the extent of the certification. Yeah. My bandwidth is really poor.
Well,
does this feel like a good place to land?
yes, for me it does. I appreciate learning more about this beautiful idea, and I'll send you any thoughts I have. I hope I would be available, not knowing when it will be, but I will definitely write you. And I'm going away. I'm going to Italy next Tuesday. So I'm not 100% sure if I will be able to come next Tuesday because I'll be traveling, but I might be able to in the morning. But I'm hoping that as much as possible I can while I'm away. But in any case, I will write you, and it's wonderful to always be here. And I will be in touch, and I wish you both a beautiful day. So,
Yeah. Safe travels, Valerie. I hope you have a lovely time going to your husband's place of origin.
thank you.
Perhaps a place for him to connect his ancestry. And both of you have my email address, and we'll be in touch.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Bye, Valerie. Bye, Chris. Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.